And Ron Cochran is also here. I don't know if that matters, Karen. And then Cameron Lane is not here yet.
He may be in the waiting room. Can you check that?
I'll check it.
For some reason, the last email that we got, the link was sending us to the waiting room.
Okay.
And it wasn't a direct link, click on link. It was a cut and paste.
Yeah, I do not see Cameron in here, at least not named.
Okay, he's also on call for his job, so that may have come up. But I just want to call the meeting to order, to read a few things. What I want to do first, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the committee, as always, for your commitment. Not just the present committee members, but also the former ones. We wouldn't be here in this position reviewing these amazing projects if it really weren't for your talent and your time and your commitment to the mission of CPA. So I want to thank you for that. So I want to thank the applicants. I mean, this has been a long process this time. We're all dealing with COVID and the impact of things. So I want to thank the applicants for hanging in there, and for, again, bringing such amazing projects to us that we can review tonight. And finally, we'd like to thank the public for participating in this civic process, and for bringing your thoughts and ideas to the table. So thank you very much. And I want to thank Karen Anderson for jumping in again, taking notes. We really appreciate that, Karen. And finally, want to thank Ron Cochran for being the technologist within the city who's really keeping things running. So thank you very much for your time, Ron. To the public, let's see, had everything lined up. Just want to take a moment and talk through the process of how we're going to take public comment tonight. I'm not sharing my screen.
Oh, you may need me to, do you want me to share the doc?
Can you?
Sure.
Because you have it.
I do.
Yeah, okay. So what we're gonna have to figure out is I have the presentations from folks on my computer, Ron.
Got it. Okay, so that's fine. We can
figure that out. So we can maybe jump back, share. So tonight, the way we're going to take public comment, this is the first remote public hearing in the city of Malden. What we're going to do is we're going to do one speaker at a time. The comments will be specific to the project that's presented, either in favor or opposed. We're going to go through each of the 6 projects. We're going to ask those in favor to speak first, and then those opposed will be asked to speak next. Speakers will be asked to state their name and address clearly. The comments and questions will be documented. And because we have 6 projects tonight, if time's permitting, and if the committee and applicant chooses, we may, the applicants may answer some specific questions for their projects, time permitting. If you want to participate in the public comment portion and you're using Zoom, you click on the Q&A button, then click Ask Question. In the question box that's shown, you enter your full name and your home address for the record. This will give the host a time-stamped request that you want to speak, and we'll respond to these requests during the public comment section of the meeting. We're going to try and go by the order. If you have, and Ron can speak a little bit more to this, if you have a comment for a project that's maybe not the first or second project, we're going to get to you when we bring the projects up, and we'll try to really track that. When it is your turn to speak, the host will announce your name. We'll unmute your line and allow you to speak. Anyone who's calling in by phone, if you press 9, it will show you with a raised hand. When it's your turn to speak, the host will announce your phone number, the last 4 digits, and unmute your line. Okay. Again, you'll be asked to say your full name and your street address for the record. Can I take the screen over, Ron? Or is that going to be a problem?
No, I think that should be fine. If you want to do that for the presentations, that would be great. And then you could give it back to me for the Q&A.
Great, thank you. Um, You'll notice. Wait a moment. That didn't come up.
While you're doing that, can I just add one quick thing to the to my request, if you could, just to make it a little easier to track? If we could also ask folks that are putting in the Q&A two things. One is if you could do it as close to the possible time that the project is being presented. And then the second thing is if you could also include in there whether you're on the for or the against side, and that'll help us queue you up appropriately. You know, this is we're flowing through this. It's new to all of us, so just we'll bear. Let's all give each other some breath here on how to handle this all. So we'll do our best.
Thank you, Ron. Just want to read, because this, again, we are, as Ron's pointing out, we're a remote meeting, and in following the guidance from the governor, in accordance with Governor Baker's 3/12/20 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and the governor's 3/23/20 revised guidance on order by the governor prohibiting assemblage of more than 10 people. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. In-person attendance by members of the public is prohibited, and all effort will be made to permit public attendance of this meeting in the manner specified below via remote access by internet, telephone, and if available, via public broadcast of the meeting by Malden Access Television, cable television, on public access television channels. Public access will also be provided by posting draft minutes and/or transcript, recording, or record of the meeting on the City of Malden website at cityofmalden.org as soon as this word practicable after the meeting. How do you say that word?
You got it.
Practicable. All right, very good. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to start with this one. Where's my? Can you all see that presentation? No.
Governor Baker's notice is up.
The notice is still up. Share screen. There it is. Share. How about now?
Now we can see it.
Excellent. Okay. So we're just going to start with just quickly run through our presentation. Say a little bit about the Community Preservation Committee, a little bit about CPA, and then look at the fund numbers, and then jump right into the project presentations. So the agenda, we just went through the remote meeting public comment process, the overview, funding, and then the applicant presentations. So the CPC is made up of members from the relevant city committees. They're mandatory by law, and then those of us who are appointed by City Council. There's myself, Julian Orsino is chair, Frank Mollis is vice chair, Kenneth Antonucci is treasurer, Ina Babitskaya is member, Roberto DeMarco member, Khalil Kababa is member, Cameron Lane member, and Lisa Sullivan member. The Community Preservation Act is state law. It enables communities to create a dedicated fund for 4 focus areas. We have preserving open space and historic resources, preserving and expanding community affordable housing, and enhancing and expanding outdoor recreation opportunities. The Malden CPC mission is to oversee the implementation of the CPA funds and is responsible for establishing the priorities for how the CPA funding should be spent and making these funding recommendations to the mayor and city council on projects that are allowable under the CPA law. The Malden CPC commitment is to study the needs, possibilities, and resources for community preservation. And we are the catalyst for projects, not an initiator. We communicate the CPC's mission and goals to the general public, and we consider all parts of the city in the project submission process. The key sources of revenue are from the residents. It's taxpayer dollars, and that's through a 1% surcharge on our local property taxes. Additionally, we receive from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts distributions from the Community Preservation Trust Fund. Optionally, Malden has adopted the blended CPA, so the city, if it decides to, can appropriate additional municipal revenue into the fund up to a total of 3% of the surcharge. This is a chart of the allowable uses of CPA funding. As you can see, it's broken into the 4 categories. And then we use this when we're looking at projects to make sure that it fits within CPA. It's a little bit, I think it's a little self-explanatory. You can acquire affordable housing, open space, you can create affordable housing. You can't really create historic preservation. And then some of the areas that we can't, that are not CPA eligible are the support areas under historic preservation, open space, and outdoor recreation. And a lot of times what that means is salaries. So we can't pay for, say, like a park ranger. The way we've structured the CPA fund here in Malden is we're reserving the minimal amount, which is required within the 3, we call them buckets, open space and recreational land, historic resources, and community and affordable housing. And we do it that way so that we can have the most flexibility with funding projects that come up through others. We additionally we may allocate 5% of the annual CPA revenue for administrative and operating expenses, and that's the city council votes on that. And finally, we are permitted to retain revenue to spend on future projects for potentially larger, more costly projects down the road. That would be a bonding scenario. This is a snapshot of the CPA fund. The fund started in FY17. We're currently in FY20. So FY17, we started with about 608,000 in revenue. You notice, pointing to my screen, that rolls up into FY18, and then the revenue from FY18 is added with the state match from the 2 years. So we went from 607,701 to almost 1.4 million. And then last year, we started actually funding projects, so that the 1.4 plus the $667,700 plus the state match, the total in the fund last year was a little over $2 million, 2.124. What we have to do is we have to take the reserves out. We just talked about the 10% in each of the funds, and then the 5% for administrative costs. And that gave us almost $1.9 million to disperse. Last year, we funded 8 projects. And the total was $637,000. And then these are estimates. So the ending balance for the fund for future projects was 1.253. That rolled into FY20. So we started with the 1.253761. The estimated revenue from this year is almost $744,000. State match brings it to 2,076,607, 2 million. And then again, we have to take away the reserves, which is about $260,000. It gives us 1.8 to disperse. If the funding recommendations that we've made for these 6 projects are accepted by the mayor and the city council, we'll be dispersing $1.287 million, which gives us 5.29 to roll into the next year. Next year, 529. These projections for FY21 are pre-COVID. So just to, I guess, be transparent, or just to kind of think about in the future, those numbers very possibly may be lower. And then the state match very possibly may be lower depending on what happens as we move forward through in opening up the economy. If we keep those numbers with the projection, we're at 1.437. Again, keeping the reserve in place, that's 291. It gives us 1.146199. And then we have projected that the Roosevelt bond, we'll start paying on that, and that's $206,625. So the ending balance at the end of FY21 would be that we would have 939,574 if all these numbers hold. So any questions on that? We'll the CPC is happy to answer any questions about the fund. The one metric that I think is really interesting is the open space. If everything that we recommended and everything that we're recommending this year, everything we recommended FY19, added it with FY20, if that is all accepted, we will have funded projects within open space, 47% of that number. So almost half of the amount of funding that we've dispersed will go to open space, 8% to historic preservation, and if everything flows through, 45% to community affordable housing. So they just fell this way. I think that's really impressive that we're able to align like that. This is a breakdown of our FY 2020 projects we're going to walk through, broken down by community affordable housing and then open space. So we have Under One Roof, which is the Bread of Life affordable housing project, Start Secure, ABCD, and then the rental assistance fund from the City of Malden with assistance from MRA. The open space is the Devir Park revitalization, Trafton Park revitalization, and Spot Pond Brook revitalization. So if you have any questions and you want to reach out to us directly, please email maldencpc@cityofmalden.org, or you can go to our Facebook page. At this point, I'd like to open it up to our first applicant on our list, which is Bread of Life. I know Gabby's out in the attending. So I have to give Ron, make you host, Ron?
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Gabby, I'm sure you can hear. We're about to promote you up to a panelist. And you are now unmuted.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Gabriella Snyder-Stelmack. I live at 38 Wheeler Street in Malden, and I'm the executive director of Bread of Life at 54 Eastern Ave in Malden. Thank you so much, Julie, and the whole committee for all the work that you've done. We're very excited about this project. I do want to say that our development consultant on the project is in the probably waiting room, Alice Kraft, if you would like her to speak.
Would you like us to have her come in, Gabby?
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, I gotta give you back host because I was sharing.
Thanks.
You still got it?
Yep, got it.
Thanks. Yeah, so our project, thank you to the committee for recommending it. We have been working on this project for years, and we're partnered with Metro North Housing Corp. So we are developing 14 permanent studio apartments for formerly homeless and veterans. All of them will be subsidized, and it's a great addition to our housing stock, very much needed, this type of supply in our housing stock that will meet this need for homeless individuals, and it will be a permanent place for them to live. And that is was part of our $512,000 request to you. That is, actually lets you know, I believe helped us to really go over the top in our application to DHCD, which was awarded, as you know, recently. And so that the housing portion of this project is now completely funded if this request is approved by the city council. Then after tonight, the going on with the process. So that is very exciting. You also recommended for the Bread of Life portion, which is permanent public easement, improvement of the Northern Strand Community Trail, the entrance into our site. There's a greening there, permanent public easement for the public to get into that green area, a walkway from the bike path, the trail to Eastern Ave, and a pocket park on Eastern Ave. And that's about 100,000, 474 of the total amount of 512,000. And Bread of Life, of course, is building its whole structure there. It's under one roof project to put our food pantry, multi-service community hall, the rest of our service at that one location. But it is the open space and access for the public to the trail amenity that I believe that you have approved. Alice, would you like to add something?
I think, Gabby, you've given a very good summary. We are so excited and so pleased that this potential grant from CPC really did, I think, as Gabby said, put us over the top, really convinced DHCD to complete the $4 million plus package for the housing with a $1.7 million grant. Not only did it enable that, it also allows us to keep our Federal Home Loan Bank funding, which is both grant and loan, that was coming to kind of the end of the tolerance period on using their funds. So we are hoping to close this project and start construction by the end of the year. Of course, everything's a little up in the air right now, but we're feeling really good about the progress that you have helped us make to get this project a reality. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your hard work. Do you, if you want to, do you want to be on video or? Gabby and Alice?
You
can, yeah, you can.
It's up to you. That's fine.
I think it's up to you.
I see. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
I
didn't.
see.
It's
Yeah,
there you are.
No,
Hi.
I had, okay.
Hi, how are
there
you?
we are. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much for your hard work on everything you do in the city. It's just truly amazing. So is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this project from the public?
I'm going to go ahead and monitor the Q&A. At this time, I don't see any for or against that are in the Q&A section. We're also asking, again, those that are on the phone, that if you are unable to join the Zoom meeting, you also have the ability to queue up that you want to speak in favor or against.
Okay.
And that's by hitting *9, I think I'm right.
Okay, just to follow our process, is there anyone who would like to speak against this project? Okay, wonderful. So if anyone has questions or wants to add comments, we'll certainly send that along to you.
We actually, I just want to be sure of this. Just again, just to try to get the specific instructions out to people. If you could indicate in your chat when you send a chat to us, please indicate which project that you're asking about. Also, which direction you are in support or you're against. So right at this time, I do see two that have come up. Shirley Riga, if you could please indicate which side you're speaking to. You're first in the queue, but I'm going to skip down one until you've indicated that to us. I'm going to go to Councillor at Large Steve Winslow, who is in support of this Bread of Life project. So I'm going to go ahead and liven up his mic. One moment. Okay, Councillor Winslow, you are all set to be able to speak.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much for all the hard work of folks on the Community Preservation Committee. It's a great list of projects, very favorable to this Bread of Life project, both aspects of the housing and the need to improve things along the trail that will just benefit the overall look and feel of the Bread of Life work. It's a wonderful organization, has always worked cooperatively in the community, so very supportive of this, and a very worthy project, especially at this great time of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, we're going to go to the next person who's queued up, and that is also Councillor Ryan O'Malley of 706 Main Street. Ryan, hold on one moment while I liven up your mic.
Can I just one moment, Ron? Karen, did you get Councillor Winslow's address?
No, yes.
Sure. Yes. Okay.
Julie or Ron, can I just ask a quick question? So are we fielding the questions through the chat portion or the Q&A portion?
So what we're going to do, is we're going to capture the comments, and then if time permitting at the end, if there's if the committee decides that we want to then answer some of the questions, or the applicant wants to answer the questions, then we'll do it at that point.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering if we're managing the questions right now through chat or Q&A, because it's two different methods. I was just wondering which one Ron was going through, that's all.
Well, I'm just sticking to the instructions we gave out.
Okay.
And that's through the Q&A.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So the Q&A essentially under normal circumstances for a Zoom meeting is in fact what it says, a question and answer, but it also gives us the ability to sort of have a time-stamped raise your hand style. It's not, it's a little different than a raise your hand, because we do need a timestamp and we need your address for the record, and that's what allows us to do that in the Q&A tool, so to speak.
Excellent.
So
Thanks.
okay, so next again we are looking for Councillor O'Malley. I believe you livened up your mic. Should be good to go.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
So I'm also speaking in favor of this project. I think it's the perfect timing for something like this to happen. And the fact that it is along the trail and it has a great way for people to get to and from the property without necessarily using cars, which is, I think, great for the environment, great for the health of the residents. I'm just really happy to see that they're finally getting over the hurdle with this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, next we're going to go to Shirley Riga of 57 Rocky Nook. Hang on one second, Shirley, while we unmute you. Okay, Shirley.
I just unmuted myself. I'm actually Janet Green, and it's a long story why I come up on Zoom meetings as Shirley Riga, but my name is Janet Green. But I don't see, usually in Zoom meetings, I can see that I can rename myself, but in this Zoom meeting, I can't see how to rename myself. So if you could rename me, I'd appreciate it. But I'm Janet Green, and I'm president of Bite to the Sea. So I echo what Ryan O'Malley and Steve Winslow have said, and I fully support Bread of Life, and they've been great partners with Bike to the Sea. And so I fully support, thank you, you renamed me. I still don't know how to show myself, but in any case, I fully support Bread of Life and this project. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the benefit of anyone else who has that same issue, whether it be you come up differently through Zoom, or if you come up as phone number only, or however you come up, that is how you can take advantage of that by just putting your full name and address in the Q&A chat box, so that we know from there. That'll give us your name and address for the record.
And Ron, you got her address?
Yes, I did announce that. I'll go back, and if Karen needs it, I can always go back.
Right.
But it was 57 Rocky Nook.
Got it.
Okay. Next, we have John Saya of 39 Pierce Street in Malden. John, hang on one moment while we unmute you. Okay, John, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I was just looking at I logged in a little bit late, but I just saw a floor plan with the housing units. I was just wondering if there was any flexibility to consider any research or things that we might learn about COVID-19. It seems like in the upcoming months, we might learn more about it, how it's transmitted in more detail. That was all.
So, John, I think what we're doing on the questions, we're gonna try to respond to those at the end. Julie, unless you have a different take on that.
Oh, sorry, I hit the Q&A. Maybe I thought I hit the Q&A button. I didn't know if I hit the wrong tab.
Nope. So the instructions on the participation were that if you wanted to participate in the way for or against the project, that you would speak your comments using the Q&A feature.
Oh,
But
sorry
then-
about that. Okay.
That's okay. But then the chairperson, Julie Ursino, said that we are going to, if time permits, we will look for questions of either the panelists or the presenters at the end of the meeting. So this would be just for or against.
Okay, sorry, you can pass on me for that then.
So, but to give Mr. Say an opportunity, would you like to speak for the project?
I hadn't really researched it thoroughly enough, so I don't really want to speak for or against. I just had it was just a general concern to put out there.
And we can, if folks want to ask questions now, we can capture them, because what actually might be helpful in doing it that way, and Ron, you can tell me if this would be an issue. It then gives the committee and the applicants an opportunity to think about your question, and maybe be able to answer at the end if everyone so chooses.
Yeah, then we can go back. We can jot them down as we go, and then go back
That's
and
right.
make sure we hit everyone's questions.
Right.
No problem. And I would just ask, though, that if folks do want to ask a question, just please make some indication in there that you are, in fact, asking a question and not coming in for the for or against portion of the meeting. That way, I don't have to keep livening up your mic and asking, if you're in for that. So that would really be helpful for me moderating here. But we understand this is new for everybody. So,
Right.
Okay. At this time, I do not see any raised hands from those who are calling in, from the folks that are just calling in alone. And at this time, on the Q&A side of things, we do have one more. Hang on one second. All right, Amanda Linehan of 83 Blomworth Street. Amanda, hang on one second. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Ron. I'll be brief, and apologies. I logged on late and also just right when you were giving the instructions. So I'm sorry I listed my request multiple times. I just want to very briefly speak in favor of the project. As someone who's worked with Bread of Life, I see the amazing work that you do in the community. As someone who also works in affordable housing policy, I know that the need is dire and that this will go a long way toward addressing that need in the city of Malden. So just a very vehement comment in support of the project, and thanks to the CPC committee for taking public requests and for doing the meeting in a way that the public can participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay. Once again, I think we're at the end of our list, I believe, from all the folks that are speaking either for or against this particular project.
Right. Thank you so much to the applicants. We really appreciate your project's amazing, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
So
All right, so
the
I was just gonna remove Alice and Gabby from the.
yeah, we're gonna put you back with the attendees.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Okay.
And the next, you ready, Ron?
Yep.
Okay. The next project is Start Secure. Is Tabitha? You see Tabitha as a attendee?
I do not, unless Ian is another name, perhaps, or.
Tabitha. How about Alex Pratt? Put him
Alex,
on the,
I have
put him on the
seen
hook.
Alex.
We'll put him on
to
the.
all of them.
Alex, do you mind?
All right, I'm going to promote Alex to a panelist.
Alex, do you mind speaking for this?
Sure, I can do that. So to be brief, this program is going to be led by ABCD, Action for Boston Community Development, and overseen by the Malden Redevelopment Authority. The goal behind this project is to help low-income people who are struggling to pay rent, struggling to get into a home because security deposits are so high, and it oftentimes requires them to come up with, in some cases, 6 weeks or more of their weekly income as needed upfront for first, last, and security deposit. So the way that this program works is ABCD, in the course of all the other housing work that they do, they see a lot of folks who need security deposit assistance. And what this program will do is it will allow ABCD to use these CPC funds, sort of float them to the landlord with a contract. The landlord holds those funds as the security deposit of the tenant, and those funds collect interest in the same ways that other security deposits would, and they're required to treat them in the same ways as they do security deposits under state law. And then when that tenant moves out, whether that's 1 year, 5 year, 10 years later, that money is required to go back to ABCD, which goes back into the program so someone else who's another low-income Malden resident can use those funds. And then I guess the other point I would make is if at any point the CPC and the MRA decide that instead of using these funds for security deposits, maybe we want to use them for some other use, we have that ability to do that because the funds are recycled.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this project?
So far, seeing none, but we'll hang out for a minute here.
Yep.
As people are getting used to the flow of how this is working. Okay. All right, we do have our first. And first is Roxanne Reddington Weil. Roxanne is of 35 Bancroft Road. She's an employee of ABCD, and she's speaking in favor. Hang on one second. And I'm sorry, Julie, if I didn't my mistake if I went backwards on that. Did you solicit the against first or the for?
No, I did 4. I started
Okay.
with 4.
Ron, can I have
Second.
your name again?
Yep. The first name is Roxanne, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Last name is Reddington, Reddington -Wild, Wilde.
Thank you.
I hope I pronounced it right. Oh, and sorry about that. I actually promoted you up, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and have you speak that way. Go ahead, Roxanne. You should be ready to speak.
Super. Yep, my name's Roxanne, and you pronounced it entirely correctly. I happen to be an ABCD employee. I am not in housing, and unfortunately, therefore, can't speak in place of Tabitha Gaston. And I didn't even know that we were on the agenda, but definitely, I, as a Malden resident, strongly support this and also support the Bread of Life project. We desperately need to have affordable housing, affordable housing access for people. I don't know if it's appropriate or not for me to say I happen to be on the Malden's Affordable Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board, which is actually why I was listening to this meeting, because I'm interested to see how it intersects with our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I do fuel assistance at ABCD, not housing, but this I think would be very important.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne. All right, we do have someone else in speaking in favor, and that is Councillor Steve Winslow of 83 Jacob Street. Hang on one moment, Councillor. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again. Yeah. No, I think this is again, there was a very good presentation to the council on this. It's very important with this how expensive rents are. It is very difficult to get deposits together, and that is an impediment for people to find secure housing. So this is a good program. The fact that money can recycle back and keep the program going is a very good use of funds. And ABCD is a great organization, and they've done amazing work in Chinatown and other places. And it's great to have them be building their presence in Malden, because I think they'll be very important to helping us figure out our housing affordability and security in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Just looking back in the chat, I don't see any other requests that have come in. I'm just going to give it one more minute here. Okay, I believe that's going to be all.
Right. Is there anyone who'd like to speak against this project in opposition? Okay.
Hearing and seeing none on my end.
Okay. Is Alex still with us?
I am.
Yes, okay, great. So the next project that we're going to review is the Rental Assistance Fund.
Yes, and Madam Chair, do you have my slides, or do you want me to do a screen share?
No, I got it. I got it. Let's see. Can you see them or?
I can. All right, thank you. I'll be brief. I promise you I would keep it to 5 minutes, just so you know that that's per presentation. That's not all inclusive.
Right.
The Malden Rental Assistance Fund, as you know, is our effort to stabilize low-income Malden households during this really tragic and terrible crisis. Our effort to do that is to provide 1 month's rent to eligible low-income renters. We're hoping to serve between 300 and 400 households. That will depend, of course, on the rents that we are paying and the administrative costs. We're trying to serve as many folks as possible. Obviously, if folks are paying, the people who apply have lower than anticipated rental costs, then we're going to be able to serve more people. We have an RFP out right now. Those are due on Tuesday. We'll be getting proposals from housing service providers and are hoping to contract with, we are hoping to contract with them sometime next week and launch this program next week. But to talk just a little bit about who we're trying to help, it's these folks on this first slide, 50% AMI, that's area median income. So we're trying to help folks who are at or below that number. As of last year, 40% of Malden residents fell within that category. The vast majority of them are renters, and the vast majority of them are cost burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their monthly income on rent. These are the folks who are especially vulnerable to housing insecurity, to displacement, to eviction. And even though we know that thankfully we have an eviction moratorium right now, so the courts aren't open now for eviction, we do know that when the courts do eventually open up, there's going to be a lot of pain, and there's just going to be a huge rush and crush on those courts as those eviction cases are going through. And that amount of volume is going to make it really challenging for us to use kind of our normal tool set in trying to help prevent as many evictions as we can. Could you go to the next slide, please? So the way that our program will work, again, we're hoping to have our pre-applications made available next week and open for 10 days. That's essentially to give everyone an opportunity, regardless of what language you speak, regardless of how much internet access you have. Our goal is to allow for everybody to be able to participate while still getting the money out quickly. So we settled on 10 days with that in mind from an equity perspective. Eligible applicants, based on those pre-applications, will be placed in a lottery. The lottery will be held as soon as the 10-day period ends, probably in late May at this point, probably the week of the 22nd or so. Although I'm forgetting now if that's a weekend. Yeah, hopefully either maybe the 22nd, or it might be just after Memorial Day, depending on when the application can go live. Once that lottery is held, the people who are selected in the lottery will be referred to our contracted housing provider, or if we have multiple providers, they'll be distributed proportionally among them. And then those providers will have 30 days to submit full applications, to work with those renters and submit full applications, including all the backup documentation and everything else to us. Then the MRA will be cutting the checks to the landlords directly on behalf of those tenants whose applications we approve. In time.
Nice job. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this project?
Yes, we do. Let me just go back in. I know we had somebody queue up earlier. I believe it was Councillor O'Malley. Yes, Councillor O'Malley was our first. So let me go ahead and liven up his microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm speaking in favor of this project or program. One of the things that I would like to emphasize, though, as speaking in favor, is I do think it was a good idea for the CPC to stipulate that the funds try to be prioritized for Malden families with students in the school system, as well as properties that are owner occupied. And the reason that for that is not because myself or anyone else who is suggesting this is anti-renter. I think that the reason why this is a good way for this program to go forward is that if you are prioritizing families that are owner occupied or living in owner occupied homes, say like a 2-family or a 3-family, if you are keeping the tenant in the property and it's owner occupied, you're also largely keeping the landlord in the property also. And that means you're helping 2 families rather than 1. And one of the things that we've learned is that there's just not enough money to go around. So finding creative ways like this to make sure this money goes as far as possible is very important. So I do appreciate that that was something that the CPC suggested. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, we do have more that are speaking in favor. Hang on one moment, please. Next is Councillor at Large Steve Winslow of 83 Jacob Street. And hang on one moment while I liven up your mic.
Yes, I very much echo Councillor O'Malley's comments. I am very supportive. I know there's kind of two sources of funding for this program, both federal money and city money. So if there's flexibility we can have in terms of the city money, focusing on families with children. One of the things I learned on the school committee from research was that school stability is very important for a student's long-term growth. And so keeping families in their homes is all the more critical for the educational background of our students. So that's one thing. And I mean, I think, and I also agree with the comment about helping a Malden-based landlord, an owner-occupied landlord, with rental assistance to a tenant is a way to kind of have double the twofer in terms of what the money does. I'd also like to say that one of the things, I mean, I know we as a council, it's good to get rolling on this. We know the need may greatly exceed our resources, but one of the things I think about is that if we do need to apply some more resources, there's several capital projects on this list, and if need be, if we need to kind of bond out some capital projects like Under One Roof, Spot Pond Brook, and Trafton Park as a way to free up some money for this. I would never bond out for this because this is just a short-term assistance thing, but there's projects that are longer term that are going to have long-term benefit. That may be something to consider or come back to. So that's my comment, but all in all supportive, and thanks for the MRA for jumping on this. I know Alex, he's been scrambling the past month to get this going, and it's excited to know it's so close, and appreciate the CPA stepping up as well, the CPC stepping up as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ward 6 Councillor Dave Kamel, who's speaking in favor of the project. One moment while I liven up your mic.
Thanks, Ron. Sorry, I had to unmute myself there. I'm speaking in favor of this. First, I want to thank the CPC for taking this up so quickly and such a bold program. It's very much appreciated. This is an incredibly important program for a lot of residents in our city, and it truly does preserve a community. It helps protect our most vulnerable folks from losing their home, but also all their friends and neighbors that are there that would feel the loss of them being evicted and displaced from the community. And I say this as a parent of kids here growing up in Malden who have friends that may or may not be affected by this. And so to see the impact if folks do lose their home and are evicted, whether they are kids or adults, they have made connections and relationships in this community, and I think this is exactly the kind of thing we should be doing to make sure that we protect them and keep them as part of our community, because this is their home. We want to make sure they stay home. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, next we have in favor Ward 3 Councillor Amanda Linehan of 83 Blomworth Street. Hang on one moment, please.
Thanks, Ron. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I also would like to speak in favor of this. I also want to thank the CPC and the MRA for working so hard to stand up this program so quickly. I know there's a sense of urgency among the councilors, and I would imagine the community at large. I wanted to share just a little bit about some of the calls that I get as a counselor, over the past month or two, pretty much as soon as the pandemic hit all of us. One of the first calls that I started to get was folks in fear of losing their housing. And when I talk about people in fear, I mean people of all ages. I've had high school students living alone, all the way up to senior citizens who know that they're one missing rent check away from being displaced. And I guess I would just urge us to think about the breadth of people who live in our community, not to disagree with anything that my fellow counselors have said about the need to stabilize housing for families. I know that certainly households with children experience quite a bit of discrimination on the rental market, and there is definitely a high amount of importance that I would place on making sure that that displacement doesn't disproportionately affect our households with kids. But I do see from my work in the community in my ward that a lot of the people who are at risk of not being able to afford their next month rent, it really spans a much more diverse segment of the population than any of us might think. And so I would urge us to put all the resources that we can find to bear on a program like this. And I would echo my fellow counselors' sentiments that maybe we be flexible about how we find funding. If there are ways to bond for other things in order to keep us nimble and allow us to put more resources towards this, I would respectfully ask that we consider that. And then just the last thing that I wanted to say is that I see so much value in the diversity of different affordable housing proposals that we have before us here. And I think that really speaks to the hard work of both the community proponents as well as the CPC committee in vetting these proposals. You know, they are each different when it comes to affordable housing production in terms of the Bread of Life plan, the ABCD security deposit assistance, and then this rental assistance program. Those are really three equally and critically important facets to propping up affordable housing and housing stability in our community and preventing displacement. And I would just urge us to give them all equal consideration because they really are, you know, equally important and all together comprise a strong strategic vision for how we're going to stabilize neighborhoods going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. We do have someone who is dialed in who's indicated that they want to speak. So we'll just have to ask them whether they're for or against when we liven up their mic. So hang on 1 second, please. Okay, so we are now going to liven up the phone number ending in 0970. So we're going to go ahead and allow you to talk. You are live. If you could please state the project and whether you're for or against in what you're speaking.
I'm speaking to the last project that the council is discussing. My name is Bonnie Galida. My address is 98 Beltran Street.
Thank you, Bonnie. And I'm sorry, which project in particular?
Well, it's the project we're talking about now with the MRA and rental assistance.
Okay.
Ahead, Bonnie.
Is that okay, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, well, I'm in terms of being in favor or not in favor, my question is got to do with the amount of funding. My question specifically got to do with if someone can speak to what percentage of the CPA funding monies would be used toward or going toward fees that either the MRA would be charging or other agencies involved with this project where they may be vetting the applicants or whether they're receiving monies to, vet the project or, whatever fees might be involved to get the people who are being helped involved with this. I'm just asking if someone can speak to either the fees, if there are fees, what percentage of the monies. I think that's an important factor in terms of sort of the whole picture of funding that we're trying to do this year.
Okay. So Bonnie, are you
or housing? This has got to do with housing. Yes.
Correct. Are you in favor of the project or opposed to the project, or just asking a question?
Well, I'm asking the question because the connection to being in favor or not has got to do with the revenues available in CPA and whether or not the CPA can really afford to fund maybe as much as they want. Because I've heard, and that's why I'm asking someone to speak to it, because I don't know if it's actual fact, but I've heard that up to 20% of the monies that would be, that might go toward this housing project, rental assistance, might actually not go to the people who are in need of it, but may be going to pay the expenses or fees of these other agencies or groups. And that's what I'm asking about, because I think that's important to know. If 20% of the funding may not go to the people who need it, that's quite a large amount of money. And I'm in favor of people receiving housing assistance, but I may not be in favor of the amount of money that that may be funded for that project.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't have a definitive yes or no answer at this point, but I think the question is a valid one and important to know.
Absolutely. So Bonnie, our
Thank you.
process is to capture the questions and whether someone's in favor or opposed and questions. And then once we make it through all the projects, time permitting, and if the committee feels that we would like to allocate time to answering questions and the applicant also feels they want to answer questions, we'll do that after we get through the 6 projects. So thank
Okay,
you.
I apologize. I thought that it was preferred
you're
that
fine.
we ask
Yeah, no,
questions.
you're fine. Just
project.
we'll answer it after we get through all the if the committee agrees and the applicant agrees, we'll answer that once we get through all the projects. So
Okay,
thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're all set for now with Bonnie.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. All right. Just one moment while I check back, see if any have accumulated since that. No, I think we are good. Don't see any other requests that have come in. I think we are good on both fronts.
So that's for and against. So anyone here to speak
That was
against?
4.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone wanting to speak against this project? Have you seen anyone, Ron?
Hearing and seeing none.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Alex, very much for your presentation and for all your hard work.
Thank you.
The next.
Sorry, I'm just pushing Alex back to the attendee list.
He's going to hang around. So the next project is the Devir Park Revitalization. Is Janelle DeVitz one of the attendees?
Janelle is here. Hang on one second, please. Okay, Janelle.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. I know Councillor Condon is here as well, and he wanted to say a few words in support of this project and to thank you guys. And given his time, I would like to give him the floor first if possible, and then I can kind of walk through the project generally. So if Councillor Condon is on, I would like him to go first if possible.
I think I'm on.
Yes, you are, Councillor Condon. You're good to go.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the chairperson and all the members of the CPC for their extraordinary efforts to ensure that we move forward in such a positive way. The project at Devir Park, I'm obviously excited about it. I see maybe 2 things that might be controversial. And that might be the removal of a tennis court and the dog park. Other than that, to me, it's such a tremendous project. It's been a long time coming. I've committed $10,000 of ward money to go towards the design of this project. And I'd like to thank Janelle DeVitz and school committee person Rob McCarthy for their help in putting this project together. As I said, You do great work, and believe me, it doesn't go unnoticed up in the city council. So for that, I thank you. Now I'll leave it to Janelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. So I too want to thank you guys. I know everybody's living through some serious, unprecedented times, and we all have our own private things to be doing. So I do appreciate all your work and energy that's going into this. For the Devir Park Revitalization Project, many of you might know, but I was born and raised in Malden. I live right around the block from the park. It's been a big part of my life as a child, as an adult with children in my home now. It's Malden's largest recreational park. It's at 8.2 acres. The goal of this project is to revitalize and invest in the tremendous amount of natural green and open space there, as well as to retain and plant more shade trees. Devir Park obviously is a critical recreation space for the city as a whole with respect to Malden Youth Soccer and Malden Youth Baseball, as well as an informal cricket league as of late, and multiple tennis and basketball players that use the facilities as well. You'll also see during the day a lot of school children down there for recess or otherwise. So Councillor Condon and I did hold a very well-attended community meeting in August of last year, where we did solicit input from residents, neighbors, and other stakeholders, and we did get a lot of excitement and support. We also did receive that feedback of certain aspects that were more controversial or disagreed with. And so our neighbors were great with giving us new ideas and how to maybe finesse this plan a little bit better so we don't have to remove a tennis court and, you know, the concerns with respect to the dog park. So I'm really happy that we had that meeting. I think it was very helpful to listen to, you know, our neighbors and obviously, you know, open up the discussion, as you never know who's going to have a great idea, and we got a lot of them. So we're excited to move forward with this project. We reached out to Shadley Associates, working with the MRA, and they did give us a fee proposal, basically to help create this master plan, which would be developed by a two-step process. The first step being that they would meet with us, and we would give them the feedback from our community meeting, as well as all of the other ideas that have come to light since then. And they would go and work on two plan alternatives that we would then bring back to a community meeting and work with all the stakeholders and our neighbors to finesse those two plans into one master plan. And hopefully with that one master plan, come back for another community meeting where we solicit feedback and either support or encouragement to move forward. Devir Park being so large and you know, it's going to be a complex project. There's utility, electrical, and water drainage issues that we'll have to deal with as well. Shadley's very aware of it. They actually did work on the tennis court about 10 years ago and are very up to speed into the needs of the park. And they are also very aware that this first plan and implementation is going to focus on those elements that would need to be included for the park grant application in future years. So we have a great proposal here in front of us, and we're excited to get going and hire Shadley so that we can move forward with Malden's largest park and the most amount of natural green space here. So thank you.
Thank you, Janelle and Councillor Condon. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this project?
Yes, well, our first person to speak in favor is Rob McCarthy of 227 Emerald Street. And hang on one second, Rob, while I liven up your mic.
Hi, can you?
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much, Julie and the CPC committee. I'm very much in favor of this revitalization project for Devir Park. I mean, I live right in that general area as well, and I'm very excited for obviously all of the updates and different aspects of the park to be updated in a lot of different ways. And obviously, I'd like to thank Councillor Condon and Janelle for really getting this project going, and I'm excited for this project to get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. All right, next we have one moment. We have Councillor Steve Winslow of 83 Jacob Street. Hang on one second, Councillor Winslow.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I just want to also echo Councillor Condon's support of this and the great work of Janelle DeVitz and the community. This is really what the Community Preservation Act is all about: community members stepping up and working to get resources to improve their parks in the neighborhood. So I think it's a great project and very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Giving it a minute because I'm actually entering myself on the list of those speaking for, but I'm trying to allow everyone else first. Okay. Is it okay if I go?
Absolutely.
All right, Ron Cochran, 105 Cherry Street, and I'm speaking in favor of Devir Park, the revitalization project. Two things I think that one of the things that makes me happiest about being a Malden resident is seeing community come together, and very few physical locations have the ability to bring so many different folks from different parts, both socioeconomic, cultural, and even down to different sports that people appreciate, all in one place like Devir Park. Being a big baseball fan, an active member with children who play in Malden Youth Baseball, and having friends that play in Malden Youth Soccer, and being a former tennis player myself, again, this park really speaks to all that. And in particular, I just have a vision, and I think there's nothing nicer than a nice, beautiful day, absent COVID-19, of course, where there's a baseball game going on, a youth soccer game on the other side of the field, perhaps a Babe Ruth or a high school game on the other side of the field, people playing tennis, people climbing on the equipment. That is Malden at its finest. So I am really, really excited, and I fully support this project.
Thank you, Ron.
Next, we have Councillor Ryan O'Malley, who's going to speak in favor of Devir Park. One moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I am also in favor of this project. You know, I spent a lot of time in Ward 2 as a child, and Devir Park is, I think, one of the city's best parks. The fact that it's located right along a DCR parkway, connecting it up to various other parks, really makes it a great resource. And I'm looking forward to seeing the great things that are happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. We do have someone who indicated that they're raising their hand. That's Brian. Brian, if you could please just jump into the Q&A and put in your full name and your address, and for the record, and which project you're speaking on and whether it's for or against. And we'll just give you a second to do that right now, Brian.
While we wait on that too, if I may, I thought it was interesting as well for folks who don't know, but Devir Park's actually named after John Devir, who was Malden's Ward 2 first alderman at the time, now city councilor, during Elijah Converse's time. So that's where Devir Park actually gets its name from, and I'd like to see that memorialized as well down there.
All right. Brian has not put in the Q&A, but Brian, I'm going to go ahead and liven up Brian's mic because I think he put it in the chat. So hang on one second. Brian, go ahead. Would you like to speak in favor of this project?
Yeah, hi, it's Brian DeLacy at Earl Street. And I just wanted to thank Joe Levine for the work that he did putting together the early parts of the proposal and the thought that he put into the layout of the proposal. Thank you.
Brian, I'm sorry if you did it and I missed it. Did you give your address for the record?
Sure, it's 1 Earl Street.
Did you get that, Karen?
Yeah.
Got it. All right, thanks, Brian.
Anyone else, Ron?
I think that is it. Hearing and seeing none more. Let me just one more. Oh, well, hang on one second. So, folks, again, we just want to remind folks that the raising of the hand on the right hand on the panelist side or on the participant side is not what we're looking for to indicate that you want to speak. It's not what I'm actively looking for. So if you could, if you're in favor or against a particular project and you do want to speak, again, the reminder, please hit your Q&A button and you want to put in your name and address for the record and the project you're speaking on and whether it's for or against. So we're just going to give everybody a second to do that. Okay. All right, one moment. The next person is going to be John Saya. Hang on one second. Okay, John, go ahead.
Well, yes, I just want to say that I support the project. I saw in the description that the project is described as keeping real grass at Devir Park. I just thought that was important. The Roosevelt Park project was also described initially as having real grass and it changed to artificial turf. So I just wasn't sure how that can change, but I think personally my approval hinges on that. That's all. Thank you.
John.
Okay, yeah, there we go. We have, one second, do have one more. All right, next is going to be Emmanuel from 65 Wentworth Street. Emmanuel, please, if you could first state your full name and address.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. I'm doing this off my phone, but yes, I actually would like to speak out in favor of the Devir Park project as well. And I'd like to echo the same thing that the speaker said before me. I believe that was John Myra who said that keeping the grass field, I think that's important as well to the revitalization project to Devir.
Thanks,
I'm assuming this is Emmanuel Marsh.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
The one and only. I did it
All
off
right.
my phone. I was trying to get the, before you guys had hung up, I was trying to get this thing quick.
All right, Karen, you're all set on that?
Thanks,
Yeah,
Emmanuel.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing no other requests at this time on the Q&A section in favor. So,
So anyone who's wanting to speak in opposition?
hearing and seeing none on my end.
Thanks, Ron. The next project is Trafton Park Revitalization.
Okay, we're just going to have Janelle and Councillor Condon.
Oh, yes,
back
thank
to
you.
the
Thank you,
attendees.
Janelle
Yep.
and Councillor Condon. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and I'm sorry, who did you say is speaking on the next project?
Councillor Winslow and/or Alex Pratt.
All right, I'll liven up both of them. Hang on one second. All right,
Good
Alex,
evening.
you should be also. And Councillor Winslow. Alex and Councillor Winslow are both now panelists.
Excellent. I'll speak briefly on the project and then hand it over to Councillor Winslow. And then I know Councillor Kamel wanted to speak on this as well. Just briefly, so Trafton Park, there's a Trafton Park master plan, which is what you're looking at. And that was developed as a result of an inclusive, community-driven process, which was led by Councillors Kamel and Winslow and funded by the Community Preservation Committee. Trafton Park Phase 1 is our down payment on that master plan. And so the goal of Phase 1 is to provide universal access within the park and to address any barriers to access to the park. And really, it is such a treasure to that neighborhood, and really try to liven it and make it easier for people to access that. So that includes expanding the existing playgrounds, tree plantings, removal of obstacles, upgrades to ADA benches, upgrades to the dugout benches, as well as removal of the outfield fence. Some of these elements you'll see are like moving the tennis court, for example. Some of those things are part of Phase 2 or a future phase that we're not looking at right now. Phase 1 also includes replacement of the existing surfacing of new benches in the dog park. No trees are anticipated to be removed, and we're going to be planting 10 new trees for Phase 1. And I'll let Councillor Winslow take it from here.
All right, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Touch base. So yeah, no, this is a project that Councillor Kamel and I have taken on. I think we've had at least over 4 community meetings. Our initial meeting, we really asked the community whether we should do this, sort of more incrementally with smaller projects. But the community really thought the park really needed more significant investment. So we took that to the Community Preservation Committee and appreciate the initial investment to get the planning process going. That resulted in the master plan and the development of the more detailed design. And we also took that in good faith and used that support to secure a $400,000 park grant, and that this community preservation money will be helping to leverage that $400,000 we'll be getting from the state. So this is essentially we'll getting close to $2 in extra state investment for every dollar of community preservation money. So this is an exciting example. You hear that at Devir, people are pursuing that, and I think we hopefully will do that at Kerstead too. So it's just a good project, solid. And I think as someone who's my grandkids have lived in Trafton Park, it's a really important asset to the neighborhood. And it hosts our 4th of July parties and just gets a lot of use on a daily basis from the neighborhood. And it's important. And also this will also resurface the dog park surface, which is really rough. And I've been getting complaints from dog owners whose dogs have been hurt in the dog park. So I think it's all important, and just looking forward to having this happen. So thanks.
Councillor Kamel, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I want to say, first of all, thank you to the CPC and for the MRA for the support for this project and taking this up. As Councillor Winslow said, this is a cornerstone for our community here. It's wonderful to see that this project is going to expand the access for both people of different abilities and people of different ages, between expanding the playground for older ages and expanding other areas of the park to make it more accessible for walking around and for other folks to come out and enjoy this great outdoor space in our city. And it really brings us a lot of hope. It brings me a lot of hope right now, and reminds me that there will be a time after this COVID situation where we will be gathering in person as a community again. And a project like this is going to help draw even more people out to see each other face to face and enjoy that. And I want to thank Mr. Pratt and Councillor Winslow for pointing out a lot of the details. I won't reiterate too many of those, but I do want to repeat one that we are retaining as many, retaining all the trees. I mean, unless we see one that's diseased during construction, that would be a different story. But retaining every tree that's possible and planting even more, both for green space and for shade. So the 4th of July is always a reminder that well, sometimes it's cold and rainy like it is in New England. The heat of the summer does bring the sun glaring pretty good. So we'll have even more shade. That's something we're excited about too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there anyone who's in the public who would like to speak in favor of this project?
Our first person to speak in favor is Councillor Ryan O'Malley. Hang on one second while I liven up your microphone.
Thank you. I'm in favor of this project for many reasons. I mean, if you just look at this beautiful presentation here, I mean, it's very exciting to see what Trafton Park will be turned into. A safer park, a much more beautiful park, and I think a more functional park. I think one of the great benefits of many of these projects is that they are utilizing matching state grants. And I want to applaud Councillor Winslow, Councillor Kamel, and the MRA, particularly Mr. Pratt, for making sure that we were able to get a park grant to make this possible. You know, where we're going financially, taking advantage and preparing our city to utilize state grants now will pay off in dividends, considering we're entering some pretty tough times financially. So this is a great project and looking forward to it seeing to come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
All right, next, well, officially, the next requested was Councillor Winslow. So Councillor Winslow, I didn't know if you wanted to come back on and speak in favor, or if you've already covered that in your initial presentation.
I'm good. If you can hear me. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I needed to come back on.
Got it. All right, next, one second. Next, we have Brian, but again, Brian, if you could, so your name on the attendees list is only Brian, so please, when you come on, full name and address for the record. Go ahead, Brian. You're just gonna have to unmute yourself, Brian. All right, while we wait for Brian, I'm going to keep looking down the list.
So my dog keeps walking in here. I think she wants to speak in favor.
All right, I'm going to go ahead to the next person in line because it looks like Brian might be having some technical difficulties there. So we'll keep you as a panelist, Brian, for when you're ready. But next, we're going to go to Kathleen Sullivan of 27 Oliver Street. And she's speaking in favor. Trafton, 1 second, Kathy, while we liven up your mic. Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
All right. Hi, my name is Kathy Sullivan, 20 Oliver Street, and I want to say that I think the Trafton Park project is a beautiful project, and I want to commend Councillors Kamel and Winslow for making sure that the public was included in all of the design, and also that they're going to keep it a grass field, which is very important for the city, especially that we are becoming a very congested city, and our open green spaces are very important. So I just wanted to thank the community and also thank the councilors for making sure the community was part of that project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, we're coming back now to Brian. Brian, go ahead. We're going to give you another shot here. Don't see if you could liven up your mic or unmute yourself, Brian, and announce your full name and address for the record, please. Well, we're going to give him just a little bit more time. I was going to put myself on the list, so maybe I could go and kill some time until he figures out what's going on, if that's okay. Ron
Absolutely.
Cochran, 105 Cherry Street, in favor of this project. I'd like to thank the CPC for considering this. I'd also like to thank Councillors Winslow and Kamel for having such a thorough resident engagement process in this. I attended at least one of the meetings and followed along with this project closely. And I think this is an excellent way to really get a lot of different opinions on the table and make the best decision for the whole community. Two things in particular I'd like to comment on. One is thank you for including baseball as part of the park. Baseball, it really struggles to get good field time in the city. And Trafton used to be kind of the #2 park behind Bruce Field in terms of the big games that would be played. And when it fell in disrepair, that was off the table. And this is really, really exciting. And I can speak for those. Well, I'll speak for myself, but I've heard opinions from Malden Youth Baseball that they are really excited about having Trafton back on the table. And I also want to comment in favor of the mixed use court, including basketball, which I think is great. One comment I'd like to say, a suggestion would be there are basketball nets that can be put up that the base of them also double as a street hockey / futsal net. And what I've noticed in parks around the city is that when you can accommodate many sports in one playing area for hopefully a relatively reasonable price, I think you're going to hit it on all ends, because you see down Linden Park, when you put up hockey nets, you get kids kicking a soccer ball in them soon. And so I love the idea of maybe, having that be the case. All right. Looks like Brian is all set now. We're going to go to you, Brian, next. So Brian, again, please, full name and address for the record.
Sorry about that. Have you got me, Ron? It's Brian DeLacy, 1 Earl Street, Malden.
We got you now.
Okay, sorry about that. Multiple machines here. So yeah, I did just want to say thank you to Councillors Winslow and Kamel for getting this project going and making it happen. And it's really fabulous to see. It's very clear that Trafton Park gets a lot of use, as Councillor Winslow in particular had pointed out. Two caveats to me. One is that I have seen on numerous occasions heavy dog activity inside the confines of the park, outside of the dog park itself and inside the main park area, and just would want to make sure that that was taken care of. The second thing is, again, along the lines of the heavy use, the park is heavily used by, from what I can tell, charter school students right around the corner. And it just seems to me, in fairness to the taxpayers of Malden and the youth of Malden, that is at a minimum scheduled. And ideally, there would be some cost sharing for the burden of it, given particularly that not all students at the charter school are tax-paying Malden residents or Malden residents. So with that caveat, it's just really terrific. It's great to see some basketball, and certainly with the 4th of July gatherings that are there, last year's Halloween gathering, it's a really versatile space. So thank you very much, and go Trafton.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. All right, next we have Angela Zimmerman of 65 Echo Street, who's going to speak in favor of Trafton Park. And Angela, we're livening up your mic, but Angela, just so Julie, for your benefit, Angela also wanted to speak in favor of Devir as well. So she's asking if you would permit that. And then she does have a question that, again, I think not to answer for you, but we're going to try to hold that for the end.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question.
Okay, so this would be just the portion of speaking in favor, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
No, I put it in the question part. I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask the question. You can wait till the end. But I am in favor of both Trafton Park and Devir Park projects.
Okay, thank you, Angela. We're going to put you back.
Do you want to, so Ron, Angela, do you want to go ahead and ask your question and we'll just capture it and get to it?
Okay, sure. It's just a quick question. I was wondering if there's going to be any consideration for pickleball courts. I see they're fixing the tennis courts. Could they be also dual pickleball courts?
Thank you.
And just to be sorry, didn't say it, but we did capture her question in the comments, so I did have that for the end. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Angela.
Did you want to answer to that question, or?
No, we're going to, Councilor, we're keeping all the questions, and at the end, we're going to.
Okay, sure.
So we'll give folks, both the applicants and the committee, an opportunity to think about it and answer them at the end.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else in favor, Ron, that you can see?
I'm going to check up. Hang on one second, please. All right, hearing and seeing no more questions on this project.
Right. Can I just, anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this project? Okay, great. Thank you, Councillor Winslow, Councillor Kamel, Mr. Pratt.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and push all those folks back into the other role, back into the attendee role. One moment. I think probably the most efficient way to do this would be, if you don't mind, I can look back chronologically to see what questions came up in the text.
Yeah, absolutely. And
All
we
right.
can also, we could check with Karen too, because I know
Oh yeah, that's true.
she's pretty young.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
So we have one more project, and that is Spot Pond Brook Parkway. Is Yemlip in the attendee list, Ron?
I will check. Yem, hang on one second. All right. Yem, you are all set.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me here. And thank you, CPC, for considering this project. There are two parts to this application. The application for Spot Pond Brook Greenway. The first one, the project, we received the grant from DCR. The grant is a 20% matching grant. The grant covers construction of multi-use trail along Banks Place, starting from the Fair Lawn Bridge to Winter Street. The DCR grant has to be spent by the end of June. And this application is request for matching money to be used for installation of black chain link fence to replace the existing barbed wire fence that's there now. And so whereas the phase one is looking for fund construction, the second part of the application is for feasibility study of the lower portion of the Spot Pond Brook, and also for community engagement. The requested money will be used to hire an engineering consultant to help us put together a concept plan and to engage the community for ideas and concerns. That's pretty much the gist of the project.
Thank you, Yem.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this project?
Yeah, we do have Councillor Ryan O'Malley is first up.
Thank you. Thank you, Yem, for that introduction. I'm in favor of this wholeheartedly. I think one of the reasons why this is a good project is it is a true collaboration. It's a collaboration between the City of Malden, who is the lead applicant. It's a collaboration with Bike to the Sea, who is a local community group, as we all know. And it's a collaboration with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts through various departments, the DCR, the MBTA, and the MWRA. One of the things that, as was stated, is the phase one will cover some of the match that we need to finish the project north of Winter Street. And the second portion will be the feasibility study and the community engagement process, as well as design of the lower portion, which you see here in green. And that will connect Winter Street through downtown Malden to the Malden River Greenway, which is currently being planned and implemented in various locations, as well as the Northern Strand Community Trail. It really is and it also connects to the Malden Center train station. So it's truly a collaboration, and it connects various trails and will make Malden a much more livable community. And it particularly makes and helps the west part of the city, particularly Ward 3 and Ward 2, connect to the downtown as well as the Northern Strand. So I appreciate the work that Yem Lip from the engineering department's done on this. It's been a long haul, and I'm fully in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay. Next, we have Councillor Steve Winslow of 83 Jacob Street in support. One moment.
Yes, I really want to thank Councillor O'Malley for taking this project. I think when the state trails grant came up, I think within a week or so, he was able to pull together a good application to make this all come together. And then he's also been great at working at and looking at the longer term feasibility of the project as well. So, so I think it is a great project. And if you ever look at the old postcards of Coit-Marlee Park of how there was kind of a greenway that went through there along when the brook was open, this would be a great way to connect all those things up. So definitely very supportive of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay. Next in favor, we have Emmanuel Marsh of 65 Wentworth Street. One moment. All right, go ahead, Emmanuel.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'd like to speak in favor of this. I'd like to thank Councillor O'Malley as well too, as taking the the lead on this project. As we have been in lockdown or in quarantine, Councillor O'Malley and I have actually rode our bikes, we've been riding our bikes around the area between Malden, Stoneham, Winchester. We went as far out as Jamaica Plain as well too. And so I think this is a great project. I think this is something that Malden needs. I think I should say, I think back to when I used to spend some summers out in the Illinois area and the Chicagoland and seeing, all the bike paths around like the surrounding communities all connect. And I think I think this is like a great start. And I think that this would be something hopefully in the future that we'll be able to connect our bike path with the Northern Strand, with the Minuteman Trail, with other bike paths around the Boston area. And I think also too, something coming out of COVID, that there may be more of an environmental push to have people use alternative routes of transportation instead of cars, especially seeing that the pollution levels have been decreasing. So this is why I'm speaking out in favor of the bike path.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Roxanne Reddington Wild of 35 Bancroft Road in favor. Hang on one second, Roxanne.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm delighted that I'm listening in on all of this community preservation stuff. I had not known of this proposal before the nice presentation. In normal times, I walk from my home near Bainbridge down to Oak Grove pretty much every day. I walk exactly by this area. I would love to see a bike path and walking paths. I look forward to a community in being able to provide community input in the ideas, and way to go, Malden. This is grand. Everything I've heard so far this evening is really great ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Okay. Next, we have Janet Green of 57 Rocky Nook. Speaking in favor, Spot Pond. One second, Janet.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Janet Green. Once again, Janet Green from 57 Rocky Nook in Malden, and I'm president of Bike to the Sea. And I thank Councillor O'Malley for taking the lead on this. And we, of course, are big proponents of the Northern Strand Community Trail, but also we're proponents of making connections to other trails and to train stations and everywhere throughout Malden and beyond. And we are working on other connections as well. And when Councillor O'Malley brought this to our attention, of course, we jumped on it and supported it. And so we're very happy that this is going forward. And so we support it wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Next up, we have Brian DeLacy of 1 Earl Street speaking in favor. Brian, go ahead. Looks like we might be back on the technical difficulty side of things. We're going to skip to our next person that wants to speak on this and try to come back to, Brian, go ahead.
Apologies for that. It popped up. Anyways, thanks to Councillor O'Malley for putting this together. Great project. I think, as he knows, there's at least one neighbor in my neighborhood who's very interested in this stretch of the city. So in addition to being in support of it, and I know my neighbor's in support of it, I just ask that as the project develops, I think it's a great opportunity for the community to be involved in it, not just wait for the project to be completed, but actually to participate. Terrific opportunity for community engagement. So thanks again. It's a terrific project, and wish Yemlip and others good luck with it.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, we have Councillor Ward 3, Amanda Linehan. Amanda, go ahead. You are all set.
Thanks, Ron. I also would like to speak in favor of the Spot Pond Brook Greenway project. I applaud Councillor O'Malley's persistence with this. Having been a little bit in the background on the state side, and then also as a resident, I've seen how difficult and not necessarily a given this was. And I think it's a real testament to the hard work that the city's done to get it to the point that it's at now. It certainly will have a huge impact on a good portion of Ward 3, opening up access. But I also think it will be a critical piece of what truly is a growing vision for the greater region to unlock interlocking trails, both to the north and into the city. And I think this has the potential to have an impact far wider than just on Malden. And I will say that as a part-time cycling commuter myself, I understand firsthand how these links, though they may seem small, really do add up to making a tremendous difference. And I think it was Emmanuel Marsh who had mentioned that post-COVID, we're likely to be seeing a lot more bike commuters and pedestrians and just, people not wanting to get on the bus and not wanting to be in crowded situations. And so this feels like a great piece of the puzzle for how we can plan for that and be really prepared for that future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
All right, next up we have, I'm sorry, Karen, I forgot to announce 83 Blommer Street for Council Linehan. Next up we have Brian Holdridge of 69 Autumn Street. Hang on 1 second here. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you. I think this is a great idea to make more connections and more bike paths. Thank you.
Hey, Brian,
Thank you,
a shout
Brian.
out. Long,
Yeah. So
long
I
time
just,
no see.
yeah, I would
it
like
has
to
been a
thank,
while.
yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Holdridge's participation on the CPC. It's nice to hear from you, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent.
Great.
Miss you.
Yeah, Ken's the treasurer. That's why he misses you.
I noticed that.
Yeah, you want to come back?
Okay. Anyone else, Ron?
Yep.
That's not the only reason, but
All right, next we have Beth Harris of 329 Forest Street. One moment, Beth. Go ahead.
Hi, I wanted to show my favor for the Spot Pond Trail project. I just think it's such an important connection, and it connects such a vital part of the city. The first time I ever came to Malden, I had to do work which was right near Oak Grove, and it was right near those storage facilities just south of Oak Grove. And I only commute by bike and by T. And now I live in Malden. I'm so excited to see some of these connections that will connect trails to other trails. I just think it's such an exciting project. And I had heard whiffs of this through Bike to the Sea and through the Malden River Greenway. So it's exciting to see the opportunity for more community engagement as the project progresses and to see an exciting piece of Greenway go in. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a couple more. Next is Julia Swerdloff. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Of 20 Wallace Circle. And Karen, the last name is spelled Swerdlov. First name Julia.
Thank you.
One moment, Julia. Go ahead.
Hello, we are big supporter, the whole family. My husband is here, Alex Suridenko. We are great supporters of any bike passes around in and around Malden, and we think that's what keeps us healthy physically and mentally during the COVID, and we'll continue keeping Malden healthy after the COVID. And it's just great to see more places that we can ride the bicycle and walk and in a safe manner and a great greenway. Big supporters.
Thank you, Julia.
All right, we do have a couple more. All right, next, we do have somebody who accidentally asked over in the chat part of it, but I'm going to go ahead and allow that one. Conrad Mayer of 11 Payne Terrace in Malden, speaking in favor of this project. Hang on one second, Conrad.
All right.
Go ahead.
Else I'm going to ask. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
All right, great. Hi there. Yes, I'm going to keep this quick. I'm in favor of this. I think my question is more to do, is there any mechanism to perhaps accelerate this? Because I think this is one of those projects that the window, if we had something like this within the next 12 to 18 months as a completed project, would be quite useful for people who are beginning to get back into some semblance of normalcy.
Thank you, Conrad.
Okay, and I don't see any more requests speaking for at this time.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak against this project? Okay.
Yeah,
Great,
I'm seeing
wonderful.
none on my end.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ron. Amazing. Thank you.
And then are we dismissing Mr. Lip from the panel right now?
Well, let me ask the committee. So it's 7:57. I think by my count, we have 4 questions. Do we want to take a few minutes and answer those questions now? Ask the applicants if they would like to answer them. We do a roll call.
Before
Everyone just want to nod.
Just for clarification, I'm not sure, Julie, if you saw, but there are a few questions that maybe you weren't privy to that were just pasted in the Q&A. So I don't know if you want me to go over what those are too, or.
Well, let's what's the committee think?
Julie,
Yes.
Rob DeMarco here.
Yes.
I think what we need to do is have it moved to open the meeting to questions related to the projects as submitted.
Okay.
And then we can see. So if the chair welcomes a motion, I'd make that motion that we open.
Absolutely.
Answering questions on the projects.
I'll second that motion.
That was Kenny, Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I actually can't see everybody. Okay, at least. You not in favor? I can't see you.
Yeah, I've lost my ability for group view. I don't know if it's because of the shared screen.
Yeah,
or
let me
what,
stop
but,
sharing. Let me stop sharing.
Oh,
hello, Cameron. Ina, are you in favor?
Yeah.
Yes. Cameron in favor? Yes. Khalil? Yes. Okay. Marcino in favor. Okay. Motion moved. So again, because we're just figuring this out for the first time, do we want to, Karen, do you want to read them off, or would you prefer Ron to do it? Since is Yem still in the queue here, Ron?
I could invite anybody back in that
Okay.
needs to be, so I can hunt them down.
And Karen has the questions that we've already discussed marked down, but Ron, you said there are additional questions that
That's right. That's right,
aren't
Kenny.
privy to. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start?
Yes, please.
So the first question I recorded was from John Saya, and it was on the Bread of Life project. He was asking if there was any flexibility for modification of the floor plan.
I'm
gonna bring Gabby back in, as well as, I'm sorry, who else needed to be brought back in?
It was
Just
Alice.
myself from Bread of Life. Alice has left, but I
Okay.
can answer the questions. Thank you. So there are 2 parts of our project. I don't know if Mr. Saya was referring to both, because the schematic he was looking at was the housing units. So I might address that. And I will say that we are at schematic design phase still. Now we're about to hopefully launch into the advanced design and the construction documents, but we have, needless to say, a lot more design work to be done in going into that next stage. And so hopefully we will be able to address the issues. And I know we've already broached the topic with our architects. Just a reminder that the housing units are designed for and restricted by the special permit to 1-person occupancy. So that is a start. But we definitely have had that on our mind. About the Bread of Life portion, our design team, which is mainly the architects and Alice, are following. I guess there's an enormous amount of work that's being done in the professional design field right now about social distancing. And there are other projects that, for example, Alice is working on right now that are currently addressing those issues. So yes, our intention is to make sure that anything that's going to apply and that we can integrate, any lessons learned, anything that will help us in the future to provide the best services of Bread of Life, we want to be able to do. Any other thoughts or questions?
So I would like to, does anyone on the committee have any more questions for the Under One Roof project for Gabby? Since we have her here. Member DeMarco.
Just a quick, Gabby, do you foresee a delay of any sizable length based upon what's currently occurring such that you'll move out of this cycle?
Such that we would move out of the site?
Out of this cycle of time. In
Oh.
other words, move to fiscal 21 or 22 or anything like that.
I'll have to say that right now we do not foresee that. We're driving on with the hope that we would start construction by the end of this year, because we do have these large commitments that Alice referred to, and we really need to act on them. So the uncertainty that Alice was referencing is all around the COVID and whether, how soon construction gets back. We would try to do initially demolition, and then we would try to do our site work. We're building on slab, which is good. We have no basement, but before the winter hits. So hopefully, at this point, we still hope that we can do this. So we're all waiting for everything, the economy to open back up. We all know that, but barring some other big delay in the economy and the construction industry, we don't see why we should be delayed.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other member have a question for Gabby? Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We really
my pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do. On my notes, Karen, I had the question from the rental assistance, the 20%.
The 20%.
Was the next question I had. Ron, do you have a one in between that?
I don't know time. I'm just trying to look down. So that's fine. I think in this case, we can just go for whatever each of us find. If it's covered, then I won't, I won't need to ask it again.
Yeah, it was from Bonnie Galinda.
Oh, Bonnie Galinda. Yeah, that was not one of the ones I have.
Okay. The percentage of CPA fees.
That
is
toward administrative costs as opposed to direct services.
Is Alex
So you want me to call Alex? Yep, hang on.
Yeah, please.
Hi,
Go ahead,
yes.
Alex.
Thank you. So as we said at the last CPC meeting, we are committed to keeping those costs under 15%. Those are our administrative costs, and obviously we want to keep them as far below that as we can. But there are costs that we are incurring. We have a lot of staff working on this program. A lot of staff who aren't normally working on CDBG are working on this program in particular. And then, of course, we have translation costs, we have website costs, we have different forms we're using, and then we have procurement. So we are trying to keep these costs as low as we can. And we also want to make sure that we are using these, we are charging those costs to the different sources of funding proportional to the amount of funding that we receive. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that our administrative costs, for example, on the CDBG side, we are prohibited from going above 20%, which again, we're not planning on doing. But if we were to say not spend any of the CPC money on those programmatic costs, and if our costs were to go to 15% overall, we would then break that CDBG line. So again, we're to reiterate, we are keeping our costs below 15% overall, and as low as we can possibly do that. This is a public need, a public service, and every dollar we don't spend on running the program, we can spend to someone who needs their rent paid. So that's kind of how we're seeing this. But there are some costs. We are trying to be frugal, but there will be some costs incurred, and we do need to charge those proportionally to the different funds.
Okay, thank you. Is Ron, is Bonnie still here?
I'm going to check. Hang on one second here.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? I think Bonnie was one of the ones on the phone, right?
She did. She called in.
Yeah, hang on one second. Bonnie, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Did you hear Alex's answer?
Yes, I did hear his response. Yes, I heard his response. Thank you.
Great. Would you like to weigh in either in favor or opposition based on his response?
I'm not able to do that at the moment because I really need to review that particular project, because I'm just looking at all of the three. There are total of three projects that are geared toward a specific sector for the CPA funding, and I think that combined, I want to look at, well, the total amount of what percentage of the total of CPC funds for the 2020 year, what percentage is that? Is that 40%, 80%, 90%? And, so that's quite a large amount of funding. And, on our small funds, the CPA funds, we haven't had too many years of being able to collect revenue. So, it's quite a large portion. And then, anyway, it's something to consider.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next question I was record from Angela Zimmerman as to whether or not there have been given any consideration to pickleball courts at Trafton Park.
It's Alex or Councillor Kamel or Councillor Winslow.
All right, hang on one second. Councillor Kamel is in. Councillor Winslow is in.
Dave, do you want to answer that, or do you want? I could answer it.
Yeah. So I have a confession. I had not heard of pickleball until about last month, or maybe a month and a half ago. I don't know. I know they were going to do it down the Y, and my wife had been interested in going down there. But as Ron Cochran mentioned earlier, anything that we can do to have multiple sports, any equipment that can serve multiple sports, multi-use, we're gonna look at that. So not in this first phase, that part of the park isn't going to be affected. It's going to be more towards the playground side and the baseball field. Maybe if we can get the backstop included, walkways, benches, and some trees. For the next phase, we do have time because we're early enough in planning that is something we can take a look at. Can we make multi-use provisions? So I have more research to do in regards to pickleball.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Winslow, did you want to?
Yeah, no, I think that was all. I mean, the layout of the court was still an open item to discuss more with the community. So we're certainly open to more comments on that. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both.
And then the last question I had was from Conrad Mayer on the Spot Pond Brook project. If there was any mechanism to accelerate the schedule, to have it completed more expeditiously.
Is Yem still with us?
I'm going to grab Yem, but I know Councillor O'Malley also indicated he'd like to respond as well, but let me liven up Yem as well. All right, so Yem and Councillor O'Malley are both available to speak.
And would you like me to take this?
So far, Yem is still muted, so I'm not sure if he's having some technical difficulties, but I'll let you go ahead.
I think so. Yeah, I can say that one of the things that's recently occurred related to this is actually that the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority is in the process of relining their sewer that goes directly through this area. It's actually one of the easements that we would be taking advantage of. So having them potentially do a survey would actually allow us to potentially speed this up significantly. And they've actually put that out to bid already. So we're looking forward to piggybacking off of that project potentially. So I think there is a possibility for us to speed this up.
Great. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, and did you want me to, do you want me to liven up
If he's
the mic? Yeah, Conrad, right?
Oh, for Conrad? Sure, yeah. Conrad, were you able to hear Councilor O'Malley's response?
Oop, are you still muted?
He's muted.
All right, I'm not sure if he's in on this. If he reaches back out, then I'll let you guys know.
Great. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Yam.
Thank you.
And then, Ron, you said there were 2 more questions.
It's 2 that I found so far, so I'm just trying to go chronologically here, back in time here. The first one was from Roxanne Reddington Wild, and her question. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and liven up her mic because I think she just kind of posted in a brief summary of it. So I just wanted to let her ask it in her own words. 1 second here.
Hi, this is Roxanne Reddington Wild from Bancroft Road again, and my question is probably for Alex in regards to the emergency rental assistance, and it's just can you tell me the math on this? The maximum listed in the chart income level for a 1-person household is something like, and I don't have the chart anymore in front of me, 41,000 something or other. That is actually over 50% of area median income, unlike the other household size ones. And I was just curious if we were aware that that's over 50% of area median income, and if yes, what's our reasoning on that, which I suspect is pretty solid reasoning.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. I think I said this at one of the previous CPC meetings, but one of my colleagues likes to say that the opposite of HUD is duh. So if you were to calculate the median income according to HUD, it's $113,000 a year. You would assume that 50% of the area median income would be 50% of that number, but it is not. So HUD publishes at different thresholds, and they make slight adjustments, and they are slight adjustments. But the numbers that we use are based off of the numbers that they publish for the CDBG program, which are also the numbers they publish for home and other programs like it. A lot of affordable housing programs use these numbers. So for a 1-person family, 50% of the area median income is $41,500. For a family of 4, that's $59,250. And those are the income limits that were published last year. We expect that new income limits will be published in the next month or 2, but for the program that we're thinking of running, we're going to be using the old limits anyway.
That is actually really interesting. I work in fuel assistance. We use 60% of area median income as our cutoff, and we must be using different area median incomes because we have a household of 1 being $37,360. So I'm going to go push for higher fuel assistance limits. I don't think I'll get it, but thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you. And we discovered that discrepancy when we were trying to calculate, like I think it was 60 or 65, some number that they didn't publish, and it didn't add up to what we thought it would add up to. And we discovered that the way that HUD does this was not, well, it wasn't the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, so it must be HUD and the Office of Community Services, which I think does LIHEAP fuel assistance, use different things, or the state uses different. Thank you.
Thank you.
You both. And the fact that it's after 8 on a Friday night and you could run those numbers is very impressive. We're data people on this committee, and we're impressed with your ability to do that.
I'm a one-trick pony, and that was my trick.
Hilarious. Very good. Are there any more project-specific questions, Ron?
I have not seen any more project-specific questions. There are 3 additional questions that were not specific to these projects addressed tonight.
Okay.
And if you'd like, I can track those down for you.
Yeah, I just want to pause for just one moment and make sure that the committee has an opportunity to ask any questions of the applicants while we have them here. No, everyone's just staring. I'm gonna round robin it. Ina, any questions for any of the applicants?
No.
No. Frank?
Nope.
No. Khalil?
No, I'm all set.
Thank you. Roberto?
All set, thank you.
Lisa?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You never disappoint.
Only one though. It's only
Surprise.
one.
We should have bet on that.
How many parts?
I'm sorry.
many
It's, hopefully it's a,
No,
it's
no, you're the.
but it is for the rental, was it rental assistance? Yes, the rental assistance. So it would be for Alex. And I don't know, he didn't really mention it in his overview, but we had talked before about the waiting, and I wasn't sure as the project has gone on if they were able to wait specific households or not.
Thank you. So we did look into that question, and there are just too many complications in terms of fair housing laws. For example, if we were to say we wanted to give preference to families with students at the high school, we would be running afoul of laws in terms of age discrimination. So seniors are less likely to have students in Malden Public Schools, for example. Certain families don't send their children to Malden Public Schools, and that might be because that child has a disability. It may be because they want to send their child to Malden Catholic. And so you run into all sorts of fair housing issues, which HUD drills us on. And so we're trying to avoid those types of issues. What we are able to do is we are able to wait based on households that are not eligible for unemployment for whatever reason that might be, but they still have been affected by COVID. We are giving those folks away. And so that's kind of how we're trying to help those folks who are most in need and direct the assistance to people who are most in need. It's a good idea. It's just, the bureaucratic nature of HUD sometimes makes it challenging to do what you want to do.
Right, and that's what we had discussed. I wasn't sure where it ended up though. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up on that. So when you're looking at the CPA funds, do we need to follow the same guidelines as HUD? Because we're a different funding source. Could you? I guess maybe that wouldn't be fair. But could you weight the CPA distribution?
That's a good question. CPA funds are still public funds, and so they still are subject to state non-discrimination laws. And so I imagine you would have a lot of the same issues. And then, of course, the state often adopts the federal laws for federal money, federal housing money. But even if that were not the case, and I don't quote me and say that it is, I'm pretty sure it is, but I haven't. That's a good question. I haven't looked that up. I think it would greatly increase our administrative costs to have to say we're going to use, we're going to run two separate programs or two very similar but different programs. There's much greater room for error and there's much greater overhead, and we want to be avoiding both of those things.
Thank you. Lisa, any more? No? Great. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Cameron, any questions?
No questions.
Kenny?
Nope. Thank you.
Right. If folks can bear with us just for a moment more. So my perspective is we did not hear a lot of opposition to any of these projects. So I'm wondering that with the committee, if folks or if anyone would want to make a motion to maybe vote on these this evening.
Chair,
I think we have to do them one at a time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Each project one at a time. And this would be to recommend.
Yes. If that's the motion you would like to make, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to make a motion that we can recommend individually and just do a roll call for. I guess we would have to do a roll call for each project.
Correct.
So I mean, I'll make a motion. Are you ready to make the individual motions now, or anybody else
Are
want
you?
to comment?
Is the committee? Do we have any more comments? Can you make an motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, and I'll just go in the same order as we did with the presentations tonight. So I'll make a motion to move forward with the recommendation for the Under One Roof project.
Excellent. So
Second.
Frank is seconded. I'm going to do roll call. Ina,
Yes.
in favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
Aye.
in favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa,
Yes.
in favor. Cameron, Cameron's in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. That's unanimous, all in favor. Excellent. You want to do more, or you want to give someone else a chance?
I'll move on to the next one. So I'll make a motion that we recommend and move forward with the Start Secure project. And moving forward with the Start Secure project.
I'll
To make
second.
to make the recommendation to the city council. Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Excellent. Lisa, second. Okay, again, roll call. Ina,
Yes.
in favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
Yes, in favor.
in favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa,
Yes.
in favor. Cameron, in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. It's unanimous. Lisa, take this one, Lisa.
Oh, which one is it? Sorry.
This is the rental assistance.
Oh, I make a motion to move forward with the rental assistance program to present it to council.
I'll second.
Okay, Antonucci, second. Ina,
Yes.
in favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
Yes.
in favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa, in favor. Cameron, in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. Unanimous. Next one is Devir. Frank, want to do Devir?
Sure. I make a motion that we vote to recommend the Devir project to the city council. I'll second that.
Khalil, second. Ina, is that yes?
Yes.
Yes, in favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
Yes, in favor.
in favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa,
Yes.
in favor. Cameron, in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. Next one is Trafton. Cameron, you want to do that one? Can you unmute, please?
How's that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I, Cameron, like to make a motion to put forward to accept the Trafton Park for motion to the city council.
Excellent.
I'll second
Someone
that.
want a second? Lisa seconds. Great. Ina,
Yes.
in favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
In favor.
in favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa, in favor. Cameron,
Aye.
in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. Unanimous. Last one, the Spot Pond Brook Greenway.
I'll make a motion to recommend to city council. Spot Pond Brook Greenway Revitalization.
Excellent.
I second.
Roberto seconds. Ina, favor. Frank,
Yes.
in favor. Khalil,
Yes, I'm in favor.
favor. Roberto,
Yes.
in favor. Lisa,
Yes.
in favor. Cameron, in favor. Kenny,
Yes.
in favor. Orsino, in favor. Unanimous. Great work, guys. Ron, we have a few more questions.
Yes. We have 3 questions that were unrelated to the projects discussed tonight.
Okay, can I just ask the committee, are we okay taking questions? Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay. The first question, and I'll just read these, and if you'd like me to liven up anybody's microphone, just let me know. The first question is from Councillor Steve Winslow. He asks, when will comments be taken on the FY 2021 funding cycle and or the FY 2020 applications not listed on the notice of public hearing?
Does he have comments?
Do you want to bring him in?
Yes, please.
Okay. Councillor Winslow, go ahead.
Well, my first comment is I appreciate your durability for a Friday evening. I think in all my years in public service, I only attended one Friday public meeting, and that was a CONCOM meeting for Assembly Square that we had to have on an emergency basis. So,
thank you.
So appreciate everybody's dedication. No, my comment, I was just raising that because I did participate in the Ward 7 Association a Zoom chat on a Sunday evening this week that Councillor Anderson led, and that was all very favorable. Cameron was on the call, so I know they were kind of slow to get together for that, but they did do that. So I think that's a very worthy application. And Councillor Anderson has a significant amount of money in a mitigation fund, so I don't know if it's still possible to try to come up with some money to just help get the ball rolling there, so we don't have to wait a whole nother year. It's something, just a suggestion, maybe not go for the whole amount that was requested, but certainly that's a very worthy project, and it would be very interesting. I think the other challenge of that project, you heard the public outreach work very well with Trafton Park. Anytime you're working with a more diverse neighborhood, it's just more of a challenge to do the community outreach. So that application has more community outreach built into it. So and I think it's just a challenge of trying to build momentum in that neighborhood. Kersted's somewhat isolated from the neighborhood itself, and it's a traditionally underrepresented neighborhood. So just know in my dealing, it takes some extra effort of the community to make stuff happen there. And I think that's just something that I think it's why things took longer, and I think it's still worthy to try to move forward on that. Maybe not full freight, but even some money for this year could, Councilor Anderson and I could work to get it going, and then come back with at least put it in a position to potentially get in the eventual queue for a park grant for sooner rather than later. So that's just my suggestion. And then and you already heard my comments sort of on rental assistance. Of I do, we should be cautious about kind of spending whole wad in one place, but I think it's something we have to we'll have to see how the first round goes, and if we have to come back and revisit that. Right. But we have to be cautious about how quickly that money gets spent. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your dedication.
Thank you. So if I may, Member DeMarco, I saw your hand, but I just to Councilor Winslow, that last point. When we talked with the MRA regarding this program, what we did do, because this is a very smart, dedicated, data-driven group. What we did suggest is that when we get through this first round, that Alex come back with the metrics, and we look at the metrics, because we will very quickly be in FY 21. So we are looking big picture, strategic, and have stated that when we start seeing the impact and we start seeing the numbers, that Alex is welcome to come back, and we'll look at it again. Remember, DeMarco, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, the only comment I would make is that this season or this cycle, we've seen several projects. I think out of 14, we were able to move 6, or I forget the exact numbers. But a lot of these projects are very, very worthy. Just because we weren't able to get everything done as of May 8th at 8:30 at night on a Friday, I'm more than willing, and I know that a lot of the members here are more than willing to keep working at this and see what needs to happen off cycle if necessary, and keep plugging away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You know, but just in the recognition is, I think Councilor Winslow's question was when the public hearings were going to happen for some of these projects. And we did, you know, discuss all these projects at the public meetings, et cetera, throughout the year. But, you know, and did ask, you know, and Chair, you speak to this, but, we worked through each application. And there was a total, including the housing, of 17 projects that were either pre-apped to us.
Yeah. And we are meeting on Tuesday. So on Tuesday we do have running through the applications that were not on the list tonight. That's only fair to the applicants that we make sure we run through and see where we're at. So that we're meeting on Tuesday. So to look at the FY 2020, I think that's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Frank, did you have something you wanted to add or no? Next question, Ron.
Yep. Let me just let Councilor Winslow go. Let me just find the. Okay, the next question is from Kathy. Kathy asks, what is the process or plan for projects that have been approved by the CPC last cycle but have not moved forward with breaking ground? And she goes on, is there a plan in place that would return the funds to the CPC balance account if the money is not there to complete the project due to the fact of the pandemic has put the city of Malden into a position of making cuts and tightening the fiscal belt? And then finally, could you confirm that the city has already bonded the $1.8 million for Roosevelt Park?
Do you want to take that, Ken, or do you want me to start? So the city has bonded, I believe it's 1.4 and change for Roosevelt Park. But Ken, do you want to speak to the numbers?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't have the actual dollar amount of the bond, but yes, it was, the bond was, it was part of a larger bond, I believe. And that portion has already gone through, and the bond repayment won't start till next year, FY21, because construction hasn't started, but the design phase is in process. So groundbreaking of construction has not begun and most likely won't under FY20, but FY19, but FY20 it should. And there was no time limit, I believe, on the award agreement.
And so and the bigger question of, if there's funds out there that have not been spent, so how do we handle that? And we're actually discussing that with the city, with Controller Rannigan, to make sure that we're following this properly, and whatever funds have not been spent yet, that they flow back into the correct accounts.
Correct, because there are projects that we've recommended for approval. City Council and the mayor have approved funding, but have been tied up with, in the bid process and in the public bidding process. And then there is a project that finished under budget that at some point in time we will be getting that money back, and that will most likely be by the end of this FY20, and then that money will roll back into the appropriate account that it was budgeted for. So I guess to answer the question, money that isn't used, that is not going to be used, will come back, and there's money for projects that if a project is not viable because of other funding was lost or whatever, we will be monitoring that all along.
Okay. You have another one, Ron?
Yeah, so the final one that I can see here, actually, no, I have one more. This is a statement and not a question, so I'll go ahead and read it as written here. This is from Brian DeLacy. He'd like this to be read in for the record. Dear CPC, I ask that the following be read into the record at the CPC public hearing on May 8th of 2020. I would like to hear a recap of your CPC recommendations for the 14 project applications submitted during this project review cycle. In general, I would like to hear a summary of reasons for approving, denying, or inviting a resubmission of each project. Additionally, I would like to hear your current planned schedule for advancing this cycle of recommendations for consideration to the mayor and the city council. Thank you, Brian DeLacy, 1 Earl Street, Malden.
So since there wasn't a question there, thank you for reading that into the record. Does anyone on the committee want to make a comment to that, or?
Well, I will. I think you, in response to one of the previous questions, I think which was the question from Councillor Winslow, we will, we are not done recommending everything. We've presented these first 6 because we wanted to get this expedited and get these approved, mostly, due to the housing issues. And next Tuesday, we will be having a meeting to do additional, summarizing of the additional projects that we've been discussing this year.
Chair, if I may, I would also direct any citizen who wishes to review or be present at any of our meetings where issues with projects are openly discussed at those times. Personally, my memory isn't what it used to be, and so going through a litany of issues for each one, I'm sure I'd miss something, and the projects deserve more respect than simply trying to come off the top of our head. So I think that, the issues are on the record, and we're always interested in hearing people come back and talk to us about their projects.
Frank, did you raise your hand? No. And just as a general statement, this past year has been, as the whole 3 years has been just 3 years of commitment and talent and passion from this committee to pull together and work extremely hard to do what's best for the city of Malden. I know Mr. DeLacy has been at many of our meetings, and I hope he's gained something from attending those meetings. And I believe we'll continue on and do what's best for the city to the best of our ability. Anything else, Ron?
Final question here is from Rob McCarthy. Is there any particular timetable for when these projects will be accepted and for the work to be started? He doesn't make specifically, I don't know if you want to bring him in to ask what projects. I don't know if he's talking about all 6 of them. Or...
Yeah, if he's there. Do you have a shovel, Ron? Rob, you got a shovel?
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. I was just curious about all of the different projects. If there obviously is a particular timetable for these projects to be accepted, and then obviously the work to be started, not any sort of project in particular.
So I'll start, and then if anyone, we actually don't initiate the project, so we're really very much a funding source. We do hope that the projects start within the, so now we're actually at the end of an FY, but as quickly as possible once people receive the funding, but we don't set the timeline. That would be the applicant that would do that. Does anyone else want to weigh in? No. So as soon as possible would be great, but some projects they have to go through procurement. They have other obstacles they need to address, and then with COVID, I think we're all going to have to be a little bit patient with some of these projects kicking off. But great question, thank you, Rob.
Yeah, no,
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll echo that too. That it's remember, not all of these projects are shovel ready to build. A lot of these are like say the housing, it's reinvestment or reinvestment into the community type projects, and also some design work. So I think a lot of the open space ones, specifically the parks, a lot of the money is going right into kicking off getting the projects going in the design phase.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Two quick things. One is Alex commented that the rental assistance will be shovel ready, put that in quotes, by the end of next week.
Excellent. Great.
I will go ahead. There is one, sorry, I missed it because it was a hand raised from a phone line. So I just want to go ahead and allow that person to ask their question. Go ahead. We're looking for a person with the phone number ending 6504. If you could please say your name and your address for the record.
Hi, it's Carol Melly, and it's 35 Wyoming Ave. Okay. I just have a quick question. We had sent in an email. I guess it didn't make it to the meeting, but it was just a question, and it was in regards to the applications that were reviewed tonight. And it was, does this mean that these are the 6 projects that that you put in the legal notice are the only ones that are under consideration by the Community Preservation Committee to put forth? And I know you've been talking, saying just, I guess it's been answered in one respect, except all the applications have already been reviewed. So I don't understand why the applications have not been put forward with this, the ones that would be under consideration. Because I've been at all the meetings and they have all been reviewed. And so I don't understand why the other applications are not included in this. That's all. And for the record, can you explain, I guess, why? We were supposed to be on, in April, we were scheduled to be on the docket to review our application. And I've also contacted the committee with no response, saying why weren't we put on the docket? So you had told us we were going to be. So now here it is. This is the 3rd meeting by the CPC, and I don't understand why our application is being held up as with others.
Thank you, Carol. So the meetings in between, so we had because of COVID and because of the impact on the rental assistance fund, we did schedule an emergency meeting, and then we did schedule a meeting to review that specific application because of the current situation, the current environment, and this one is a public hearing. So what we do have on the agenda for Tuesday is to review the remaining 2020 applications. Does anyone else want to?
You had said you were going to send a specific invitation to both of the competing groups for this particular applicant. So that's, again, I don't understand. You did have a meeting that was scheduled in April, a regular meeting. That wasn't an emergency meeting. The one after that was. So that, again, I just don't understand what's going on. That's all.
Well,
so, and I'm just wondering, yes, I see. Go ahead, Rob. I guess I'm not supposed to recognize you. Maybe Julianne is, or whoever the chair is. I don't know.
Yeah, Carol,
go ahead.
We're going to try and answer your question. Go ahead, Member DeMarco.
I for one, I understand completely, Carol. There are 2 competing applications for the property at Oak Grove. We have not finished the consideration. This is the public meeting for applications that we deemed were ready to go before the public meeting, and we frankly can only fit, we're here already at 2 hours 45 minutes. We can only fit 6 in. So we took the.
So there's going to be another one.
If I could finish.
Okay, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's okay. We took the 3 residential. This is the way I looked at it, and I speak for myself. We took the 3 residential, which were absolutely imperative to make sure that we're helping out people who are in crisis. The 3 next projects were frankly as complete as could be from what we had done within our other meetings. And there are a whole host of other applications, yours included, which we are still talking about, and which, if we get done with that piece of it, they move on to the next phase. So it's a process, and I'm sorry that yours wasn't one of them, but I personally am still trying to work through it, and COVID did interrupt the flow. We're working as many hours as we can. We're frankly the only public hearing that's happened so far, so we're doing the best we can. And we will continue to do that, and hopefully we can get your project moved forward.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that. And believe me, I know everybody's going through a lot with COVID. I'm just asking, is there going to be another public hearing scheduled for the remainder of the projects? Or is this the only ones that you're planning to go forward for 2020?
So again, thank you for your question. They're great questions. So we're going to, on Tuesday, review the remainder, and then the committee as a whole will make a determination at that point.
I for one have not decided. I think that we are, in my view, and this would be as I'm thinking right now, that we are having another public meeting, but I'm only one vote thus far, and I'm not even finished with what I need to look at with all the rest of the application.
Oh, I thought they were all done. I'm sorry. That's what I understood.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Carol. Thank you. Are there any other questions, Ron?
That concludes all the questions I can see.
Great. Wonderful. Just to follow up on that last point about another public hearing, we will have another public hearing. It will be the more general, the plan, what's the go forward, and to gain community feedback about what folks want to see for the next year. So we will be having that public hearing. But to speak of what the committee is going to do with all the rest, I really think it's important that we allow the committee to do its work.
And Julie, just if Chair, if I could add, I mean, obviously we can go through the COVID-19 issues, the lack of being able to meet publicly, as you said earlier, the city with the state allowing us to, and with the city and Ron Cochran doing a fantastic job being able to put this together, that we can actually meet like this is fantastic, and that we haven't lost any time really over the last 2 months because of this issue is just amazing, and that everyone has been able to participate, and luckily that everyone's healthy enough and been able to participate. Thank goodness. And the other thing, I mean, there are other issues that have come up that are not part of the normal review process that the committee has had to spend time reviewing and discussing during meetings too. So as Member DeMarco said, there's only so much time, and I'll paraphrase, but there's only so much time in the day and in the night that we can cover things. So I think we've tried to hit everything that we've been able to hit, and we'll continue to do so.
Good. Thank you. Does anyone else want to make a comment? Great. Does someone want to make a motion?
May I submit a motion that we close the meeting and try to get some rest?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ron.
I'll second
Absolutely
that.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome job, Ron. Thank you so much.
And honestly, if
Thank
people
you,
don't
Karen.
realize,
Thank you, Ron and Karen.
And Karen.
Ron is here this whole time as well, doing all this for us.
Yes.
The unsung hero of all this, supporting everything.
That guy is shovel ready, right?
That's right.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. Frank had seconded that, Karen. And Karen, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. And everyone for sticking in there for 3 hours. Thank you again so much. We'll see you Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Sounds good. Good night.
Have a good night.